Hey, R here. Today I'll be taking a look at NZXT's H440 in matte black, which is a slightly updated version to the original H440. As you can see, the exterior changes include the new scratch-resistant matte finish, which does a great job of hiding fingerprints unlike a lot of cases with a glossy finish, as well as the new tinted window, which I have to say I really like, although it is a tad bit darker than I would like without adding any case lights. The H440's dimensions are 513mm in length from front to back, 480mm in height, and 220mm in width. Most of the case is an all-steel construction, with the top and front pieces being ABS plastic with metal plating. The case supports motherboards in Mini ITX, Micro ATX, and ATX form factors. Altogether, the case weighs in at around 22 pounds and comes with a 2-year warranty. The cost of the H440 is about $120 before tax and shipping, depending on your location. Starting at the front of the case, you can see the ventilation for the intake fans running down the right side of the front cover, which is more of a hollow cover that allows air to also be drawn in from the bottom. The very front of the case is just a smooth finish, as there aren't any 5¼ inch external bays on the H440. The left side of the case is a very nice and rather large window that's tinted black, and the side panels are all held into place with thumb screws that are captured, so you don't have to worry about losing them when you're taking things apart to work on the case. On the inside of the left door, you can see a decent strip of sound dampening foam to help reduce noise and vibration. There are several other spots in the case that have this material as well as we go around the case. The foam is all the same material and thickness, which is around 3 to 5mm thick. And you can see once all the plastic is removed from the window, it's a pretty dark tint. It looks rather transparent in this shot, but it's pretty dark. Once everything is installed, not much will be visible, especially if you don't have any case lighting. Moving to the inside, you'll quickly notice the rather large cutout for when you're installing your CPU's heatsink and retention brackets that is big enough that you shouldn't have any problems installing retention plates for CPU coolers once the motherboard is installed in the case. You also have clearance for CPU coolers up to 180mm in height, which should be more than enough room for most coolers in the market today. The motherboard tray also comes with mounting standoffs already installed for a full ATX motherboard. Just to the right of that, there are 3 large holes with rubber grommets with plenty of room to run power and data cables behind the motherboard and over to your hard drives. Below the motherboard, you can see the cover with the NZXT logo that hides your power supply and cable clutter completely out of the way, and also serves as a little bit of a dual function with the 2 trays to put your SSDs on display, if they are small enough to fit on those trays. I should note that these thumb screws are not captured like the rest of the case, and you might want to put them in a safe place if you take them out while working on the case. The NZXT logo on the front of the power supply cover can also be illuminated, as there is a button located at the top left corner on the back of the case that turns the lights on and off. And rounding off the inside, you can see one of the 4 140mm FNV2 case fans that comes installed with the H440. Before moving on to the back of the case, you can see that the right side panel has the largest bit of sound dampening foam in the case, covering the entire inside of the back panel. Take note that you will end up scuffing this a little bit, as it does cut into the total amount of space you have to arrange cables behind the motherboard just a little bit. Moving on to the back of the case, you can see the button at the top I mentioned before that controls the NZXT logo, as well as lights that illuminate the I/O shield area and the 7 PCI expansion slots. Clicking the button several times will rotate between turning all the lights on all at once, or just the backlights, or just the logo, as well as turning all the lights off altogether if you don't like them. There are lots of slots cut into the back for more ventilation, and you can see from the back that the 140mm fan can be adjusted up or down on its mounting points, giving you a little wiggle room if you have your fan or maybe a radiator needing just a little bit more clearance in your setup. And you can see on the right side of the case, behind the motherboard tray, the included fan hub and wires run for the lights on the NZXT logo and rear I/O of the case. There are 5 all-metal hard drive trays held into place with more of those that capture thumb screws. The trays are pretty nice and sturdy, and they can also hold 2 drives, one being mounted on top and the other on the bottom of each tray. Locking the trays into place can take a little getting used to, but once everything is in place and tightened up, you shouldn't have to worry about them falling out or shifting at all. And all of your accessories to the case come included in the little box tied down in the bottom tray. The front panel connectors are already pre-run down the body of the case, which includes your motherboard connectors for power and reset, USB 2.0, USB 3.0, and your front audio connections. Just below that, you can see the area you have to work with while installing your power supply and connecting power cables. And at the very front of the bottom, you can also install one more hard drive if you really need to cram another hard drive into the system. Installing the power supply is pretty easy by simply removing the plate that also has capture thumb screws and using 4 of the included screws in the accessory box to mount the plate to your power supply, and then sliding the whole thing back into place. And just below that, underneath the case, is a removable dust filter that slides out nice and easy and clicks securely back into place once you're done cleaning all the dust. The front and top covers of the case are both from removable pieces. The front pulls off, allowing access to the dust filter, which rests in a little notch at the bottom and is held in place by 2 magnets at the top of the filter for quick and easy cleaning. The 3 140mm fans behind the filter can be removed to install a 2x140 or 3x120mm radiator for custom water loop if you prefer. And on the back of the front cover, you can see more sound dampening foam to help reduce the noise from those 3 included intake fans. The top pulls off just as easily and has the last bit of sound dampening foam in the case. There are spots on the top for more fans or another 2x140 or 3x120mm radiator. Taking a closer look at the top panel, you can see your 2 USB 2.0, 2 USB 3.0 connectors, microphone and headphone jacks, as well as your power and reset on the far left edge. There's also an activity light that's in the shape of a ring around the power button. That's pretty much all there is to this case, and I didn't have any significant issues installing all of my parts in this case. There was plenty of room for all of my cables and drives. It only gets a little tight plugging additional cables into the power supply once it's installed. My graphics card fit fine, even though I did have to temporarily remove 2 of the drive trays to help work the card into place. I currently have a GTX 780, which is 287mm in length. In this case, is capable of fitting cards up to 294mm in length with the drive trays in place. You can also remove those 1 or 2 trays completely to wedge an absolutely massive card up to 429mm in length. I only have 2 real issues with the H440, the first being the 2 drive trays on top of the power supply cover. These trays are meant to hold smaller drives like SSDs, but the 2 SSDs that I currently have do not fit on these trays at all. The problem is with the lip on the sides of each tray that I guess are meant to help keep the drive in place. The 2 Corsair Force 3 drives that I have ended up being exactly the same size as the trays, all the way to the lip on both sides of the tray. It's a little disappointing since the drives are screwed down to the bottom of the tray, and the lips aren't really there to anchor the drive to the tray much at all. So if the lips weren't there, even if just on one side, you could fit an SSD that much wider without any problems. I would suggest poking around online if you already have an SSD or 2 you might like to display on those trays to see if anyone with the same drive experienced any problems installing them on those trays, since it could be a problem. The second and final issue I had has to do with the captured thumb screws in the case. While it's not as big of a deal as the SSD trays, I still felt it was worth mentioning. All of the captured thumb screws throughout the case can feel a bit stiff and a little difficult to work with at times. I definitely felt like I was going to cross-thread them back into place if I wasn't super careful and made sure everything was lined up properly. It's still a really nice feature not having to worry about misplacing thumb screws when you're taking things apart, so I can't really knock it too hard, and I don't see them being used very often once you're done putting everything together, except for occasionally cleaning dust out of your system. Except for the 2 issues I had with the H440, I think this is one of the best cases I've ever had the opportunity to work with, and I can't wait to see what NZXT comes up with in the future. This is definitely a case to consider if it's in your price range and you like the look of the case and all the features this has to offer. Now you can also get this version and a windowless version for about the same price. I believe they're all about $120 before tax and shipping. And if you can still pick up a holiday deal between now and the new year, I got mine from NZXT on the Black Friday Cyber Monday sale where it was about $120 I think still, but it was free shipping and it was tax-free directly from NZXT, and I enjoy it. I really think this is a step up from the last case that I used, and I hope that you've enjoyed this review and it's helped you in some way make a decision whether or not the H440 is right for you. And as always, leave a like if you like this video, and you can always subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.